picture of us. Hey, I'll post a thumbnail that said joining Sheikh Uthman's Dawah team.
Let me get a thumbnail too.
Hey, what face do you want me to make? You want me to make like a terrifying face?
I don't know, what do you want?
I know whatever you want to do.
You
What do you want for your thumbnail?
You pick.
You're
better at it than me. Yeah. Go over there, take a thumbnail.
Good.
How about All right.
Hey, how you doing? I heard you went to Hawaii.
I went to Hawaii.
Where you went to Hawaii? No, I said Hawaii.
Oh, yeah.
I heard you went to Hawaii.
I did. I just came back. Thursday?
Yeah.
How you been?
I've been good. I've been
Looks like
good.
you're back in San Diego again.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, should we start with our homeworks?
Oh, you want some more? Yeah.
Okay. So, you were supposed to bring me the evidences in book format, I think you said, right?
Of what?
Of the number of slaves that you claimed and names and documentation for the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
I do not remember that. You want me to give the names?
You forgot?
I think it's
No.
provisions of the
You
afterlife.
forgot
Like
your
27.
homework?
I do not remember that.
Oh,
You want me to look
man.
up the names? I know
You
several of
made
them.
a-
There's
you
on
made a
Joshua.
claim. How many
slave.
did you claim were the Prophet had how many slaves?
Provisions of the afterlife. I think names 27 of his slaves.
So you said that he had 27 slaves, not through war, right? This was your claim, and you were
Was he at war with Africa during this time?
There were people that were taken through war by different tribes of Africa before Islam that were given. Yes, that is true. But you were supposed to bring that evidence. That was your
I
homework.
do not remember that. What did I say? I said I was going to show up.
Yes, with that evidence. We have it on tape. We have it on video. I mean, not tape anymore. On VHS. Really? You don't remember your homework, huh?
No.
Oh man, you weren't a good student, were you?
No.
All right. The homework you had assigned me, which I did remember and I brought, is that
So you actually showed up with something.
with my
You
homework,
showed up with some
as
notes.
every
Huh,
time.
that's interesting.
Wait. Every time you come out here, I have brought you books to bring you evidences. I brought you Ibn Kathir. I showed the
Yeah, but you keep twisting it.
Let me finish, right?
Everything.
When I brought you the actual evidence to show that Ibn Abbas's quote was not in the book that you claimed, you then blamed it on a website. But
Because that was a lie.
It was not.
That was a total lie.
Really? How is that?
That was a complete lie.
How is that?
Okay, so
Did I
quick,
not bring you the book and ask you to show it to me?
you brought me
didn't have-
Ibn Kathir.
Okay.
But what does that have to do with anything?
That's the Ibn Kathir that you were mentioning.
No, but listen. So,
Okay.
quick recap. The verse says Allah created every living thing out of water,
Uh-huh.
right? And you said this means that the fundamental component, you can correct me if I'm misrepresenting something here, you said that the fundamental component of living things is water.
Okay.
So I pointed out a bunch of verses which say that man's created of clay, man's created of dust, and this can't mean that the fundamental component is...
And I explained to you that when we look at the word ma, according to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, it has different meanings.
Yeah, that's fine.
Some of them, hold on, that's fine and try to skip over it, bro. Take it easy, right? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَجَعَلْنَا كُلُّ شَيْءٍ مِنَ الْمَاءِ وَكُلُّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ مِنَ الْمَاءِ, that we made everything living out of water, this is explained that this is the component of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made insan and all living things through, right? But when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that when the ma is released, then you have to make ghusl. Here the reference is to sperm, semen, right? Because of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that explains the ayat that man, when it came from ma, meaning sperm, right? And I brought you these evidence to show you because a word is used in context. And that's why we have things like Ibn Kathir. And I brought you Ibn Kathir to show you the references for that, right?
I quoted Ibn Abbas.
Okay.
All right. I quoted Ibn Abbas, who gave an interpretation that
Right.
when it talks about the water,
Okay.
it's talking about the fluids of the male and female, right?
Which
Because
water are we talking about?
in created everything from water.
Okay.
In the website I was using,
Okay.
they gave that quotation from Ibn Abbas,
Okay.
saying that when it says that everything's created from water, it's the
Okay.
same thing as his interpretation when it says that man is created from water, talking about the fluids of the male and
Okay,
female.
so
Because
then you took-
because
hold
according
on.
to Islam, Allah creates everything in pairs,
Hold
right?
on. So you took a reference that was about a different ayah.
No, it's
Okay.
on the site. It is
Okay,
that
go-
high. On the site it is that high, and you responded
Okay.
by saying, "No, that's a Shia website. You can't trust them."
The one you showed us.
Yeah.
It says ahlulbayt.org or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
You
now-
said that's a Shia site, right?
And the issue.
This is my this is my problem. You're saying that's a Shia site.
Listen, right? What you showed us from the name of it, as I said, I don't know the site, but it seems like it is. And I told you not to go to random websites, but to bring actual books. And that's why I brought you the actual tafsir of Ibn Kathir, and I showed you that ayah, and I asked you to find me that, because you know that Ibn Abbas never wrote a book of tafsir, right? You know that or you don't know that?
Yeah.
Now, there have been people that have collected, like al-iqtibas, which are all the weak narrations, right? But those are later works. Those are not the works of Ibn Abbas. The original works of tafsir, like Ibn Kathir and others, when they recorded as well, we checked the authenticity of those narrations, right? Because what you're trying to do is just trying to find a quote here, trying to find a quote here, and trying to misrepresent. What we're trying to do is look at the...
That's the organization. So this is the organization. You said I can't trust this site because it's a Shia site.
Could be. I don't know the site, as I told you.
You insisted. You literally laughed in my face for quoting a Shia site.
Listen.
And now it could be a Shia site.
Listen, Dave. Go back and watch the video.
I will. I'll put it all together for everyone. You literally laughed in my face for using the Shia site.
Don't cut.
Now it's not a Shia site anymore. Suddenly.
I didn't say that, right? Don't cut and clip. Play the whole segment. Unlike what you do with the regular stuff, right? Listen. What I told you is I don't know the site. Looking at the name, it seemed like a Shia
You're
site.
saying the organization is a Shia organization.
I didn't even mention the word organization. I told you about the website's
Right,
name.
we got the clips.
Watch the whole video. That's why we post the whole thing. We don't just cut and clip, right? Now, and the funny thing is, you saw that our camera died, and then you kept on recording after we were done, and then he was like, "Oh, Sheikh Uthman doesn't want to show this." You saw that our camera died
see your camera die.
Yeah, we were telling you when you were there.
I didn't say your camera died.
We were recording.
camera die.
Listen. We record.
You know what you guys are doing over there?
Listen to
Your camera dies right now. I don't know that.
Listen to. When you were here, when I
Your
talked to
camera
them,
can't
and
last 3 hours.
No, it cannot. I mean, and we've been recording before you get here. We're not just like you, where you just sit there and wait to come and record me. I record here. We've been recording now since 2 o'clock since I got here, right?
You should bring in extra batteries.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Bring some extra batteries.
But the dishonest part
give you one.
is that when you cut and paste the clips and we post the whole thing, when we weren't recording,
posted the entire thing.
No, when we weren't recording, when I told you we're done, when we finished and you kept recording, then you tried to make it.
I'm dishonest for continuing to record our conversation.
No. He's dishonest because he said that we didn't post a part of the recording, which is not true.
You could have used mine and
Okay,
used it.
send it to me.
Yeah,
Send me your
you just
data.
download it
No
from my
problem.
site. You can have it.
Yeah. All right. Now wait. Hold on.
Hang on. You spent 2 days convincing me that this is a Shia site.
I did not.
It's
I did not spend
established
2 days convincing you anything.
You did it on one day when we were
let
talking
me-
about water.
let me-
Then I showed up the next time and you had Ibn Kathir and you said, "Do you agree?"
Yes, I
You
showed
agree,
you.
and you're telling me
an
it's a Shia
actual-
site.
Listen, I showed you an actual book, the actual Ibn Kathir. Right? Now, what I told you, and your followers can go watch the whole segment if they like, is I don't know the site, but it seems like a Shia site by the name of it. Right? Usually, when you find Ahlul Bayt, this or that, those are Shia sites.
So you
right?
didn't say it's a Shia site. So I won't find you
I-
going, "Ha ha, he said he's using a Shia site."
Listen, what I told you, and I'm saying it again, go check it again,
I'll check it.
is that don't go to random sites. I don't know the site. I told you it seems like you're going to a Shia site. No doubt.
Well, now you can know the site. Now you can know the
Go
site.
ahead.
Established in 1980, Royal Al-Bayt Institute for Islamic Thought.
Royal
is an-
Ahlul Bayt.
Not Ahl.
Ahlul Bayt. Yeah, okay.
Thought is Islamic Thought is an independent, international Islamic non-governmental organization headquartered in London, blah, 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 blah. Since 2000, HRH Prince Ghazi bin Mohammed, chief advisor to HM King Abdullah. So King Abdullah, is he Shia? I don't know. You don't know if King Abdullah is Shia?
Let me.
Okay, and that advisor is he
Can I
Shia?
see which King Abdullah, which country? Can I check it? I mean, you're trying to like skip through it,
I
right?
believe it's King Abdullah II of Jordan.
I don't know him to be Shia. That is true. But do you know who Prince Ghazi bin Muhammad
I'm
is?
asking you.
I don't know.
You're saying he's Shia.
I didn't say he was
They
Shia.
give the scholars here.
Okay.
So you heard of these guys? Professor Dr. Shaykh Ahmed Mohammed Al-Tayyib of
Nope.
Egypt?
Don't know.
Not a Shia? Is he Shia?
I don't know him.
Okay. Sheikh Dr. Ali Gamal of Egypt?
Not a Shia, but
Not a
definitely-
Shia.
Not a Shia, but I don't follow him because of weak narrations that he depends on.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Sheikh Omar bin Mohammed bin Hafiz from Yemen?
Don't know.
Don't know him, so could be a Shia.
Could not be Shia.
Dr. Shaykh Muhammad Taqi Usmani of
Shia
Pakistan?
Taqi, I know him, yes.
Shia?
Not a Shia.
Not a Shia.
Even though I don't follow him either.
Okay. Amirul Mu'minin
Amirul Mu'minin,
Sultan Muhammad Abu Bakr III of Nigeria.
Don't know him.
He's the spiritual leader of Nigeria.
Interesting.
So, Shia?
I don't think so.
Okay, not Shia. Now you should know this guy, Professor Dr. Sheikh Yusuf Al-Qaradawi.
I know Qaradawi, don't follow him either. Because the weak
Shia?
narrations- Don't, not Shia.
There's a lot of Sunnis on the. There's a lot of Sunnis for this organization.
So, وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. حياكم الله. Oh, ما شاء الله، بارك الله فيك. حياكم الله، شرف لنا. وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله. حياكم الله.
I pay for the work you do.
أكرمك الله، الله يكرمك.
Yeah, God bless you and your
جزاك الله خير. الله يسلمك.
awesome content, mashallah. Nobody got nothing on you, bro. They keep coming, you know, but nobody got nothing
As
on
long
you.
as we got brothers like this supporting, we're all good. Alhamdulillah. جزاك الله خير. حياكم الله. Go ahead. So wait, wait.
The point is, these are very respected scholars who are
They
running
write
this
those
project. What books?
The book that you were showing.
No, they're the organization, and they have a couple of projects. That's one of their main projects. Is that site which compiles the tafsir.
Okay, but let me explain something.
You throw all these guys under the bus. They're Shias.
No, I did not. You're lying. Dave, come on.
You know I got the video,
Allah
right?
knows. I did not say those guys are Shia. I did not mention those guys. Those guys are advisors on a panel. You're just showing me pictures,
A
right?
Shia panel.
It's not a Shia panel, apparently, although I don't know that to be true either. Right? I don't know the website. I don't know the organization. We saw ahlulbayt.org, which I told you is indicative of it being a Shia site, but that's not even the point. The point is the reference to authentic narration. Ibn Abbas did not write a book of tafsir. Later compilizations like Al-Iqtibas have been criticized because they're weak ahadith and they're referenced incorrectly. Classic tafasir like At-Tabari and Ibn Kathir and so on that I actually brought you the book, you couldn't even find the narration. So can you show me an
Brought me Ibn
authentic...
Kathir.
Yes, so can you show me a book that says that Ibn Abbas made this tafsir an authentic chain? Go ahead. Go
Right
ahead.
there. They're the ones that compile it.
No,
No,
they
no, no,
didn't.
no.
This is so
Oh, my
foolish.
goodness.
They did not compile the work. They are you are looking at some organization
Yeah.
that has a panel of advisors.
No, they didn't do that. I'm saying they're the ones compiling these. Okay, they're not
Again.
They're not writing Jalalain and so on. They're compiling
They are
for
not.
their site.
And those scholars are on a panel. Most of them I don't even follow or know because many of them follow weak ahadith. But the issue there being that they did not say Ibn Abbas made this reference. When you make a claim, you have to bring proof. I'm asking you to bring me
What
a
do you mean
book.
they didn't say it? It's in. They've got tafsir.
What's
They've
wrong
got
with you,
the
Dave?
tafsir.
Let me explain this. Let me explain this. Let's say you're on the board of a church.
You click on the.
let me explain
That's the
it.
commentary.
Dave, you here?
Yeah.
Paying attention? Gotcha. Let's say you are on a panel of a church. They bring you as an advisor, Islamophobe advisor for a church. Okay? That church publishes a bunch of works that you may never even have read. Just because you're on that board does not mean that you read, accredited, or approved other things that they have, projects that they have done. Okay? The point is very simple. If you claim Ibn Abbas made this tafsir of this ayah, bring me a book that I can look at the chain of narrators that authentically attributes it to Ibn Abbas. Because what I found with the chain of narrators that Ibn Abbas made this tafsir of a different ayah. Whether the book made a mistake or not is a different issue. You don't even know who compiled that book. You don't. You're just sitting here nodding.
You're
Because
the one that tells me to go to scholars. Every time I go to scholar for something, you
Which
say
scholar did you go to?
those guys.
You
their
went to
site.
them?
That's their site.
You went to them?
They're putting
this
it.
is childish.
They're putting it
This
as
is
the commentary
childish.
of Ibn
If
Abbas.
They are not.
You keep doing
They
this. You
are-
keep throwing
they
your scholars
are-
under the bus.
I did not. They are a committee of advisors for an organization. You did not go to them and ask them about this narration. This is not going to a scholar and learning. You are just here.
Once again, it's
to try to make
impossible to
content.
learn
It is
about
not.
Islam.
Let me explain this.
By reading anything.
When
You
David
can't do
Wood
it. You have to
came
go to
here,
him.
When David Wood,
Because he's the only one who's going to tell you.
Listen, which other? Forget
If you
me.
read any
Forget
source,
me.
it's wrong.
Forget me. Which Islamic scholar did you go to? Other than.
I went to their site.
Hey, look. Let me explain. Let me explain.
If they're
Let me
saying, hey,
explain.
this
Let
is
me
the
explain.
commentary of
Look.
Ibn Abbas on this verse,
You
I read
guys-
the
you guys
commentary,
see
you tell me they're
the
Shias,
deception?
then I come back and you say, no, I'm not saying they're Shias.
You guys see
And I'm the one who's being
dishonesty. Let me
deceptive.
explain
I'm
this.
the one being
I'm going to
dishonest.
make it clear. Instead of coming and saying, did Ibn Abbas make this tafsir? And when I showed you that in the books of
You didn't show
tafsir,
me.
I did. I brought Ibn Kathir out to you, right?
You
That
brought Ibn Kathir
Abbas-
to supposedly show me that
Show
Ibn
you-
Abbas didn't say something.
that Ibn Abbas' tafsir for that ayah is not there. And instead of accepting and understanding, you just went in a loop to try to show things off, right? Instead of going, so go to another scholar. Don't come to me. Go to somebody else and say, hey,
Man threw
did
dozens
Ibn
of Sunni
Abbas-
scholars under the bus
I did
to
not
avoid
throw-
a response
I
to
did
an
not
argument.
throw
Look,
anybody
here's
under
another
the
one.
bus.
Here's another one. You know Maududi?
I know Maududi.
You know Maududi?
Yeah.
So last time, just as an example, wasn't something I was planning on talking about, but just to get an example in response to you constantly saying, well, you have to go to a scholar.
Yeah.
I want to say, oh, but scholars can give different opinions and so on.
Of course they
and I
can.
said, so for instance, on the issue of apostasy,
Okay.
the four schools.
Are you jumping now?
No, I'm giving you an
Ibn
example. I'm
Abbas?
giving you an example of what
Jump.
I'm
Go ahead.
talking about.
Jump.
I gave you an example.
Okay.
I gave you an example of of an issue where if I go to a scholar, they're going to give me different answers, right?
Wait,
So,
you went to Maududi?
no,
You pulled him out of the grave?
I didn't know where I was getting it. No. I didn't know where I was getting it. I brought it up as an example because I thought everyone agrees. No.
You
just
speak
let me
English,
finish.
right? Let me just make this clear first, because you're going to go in a loop without. When I say go to a scholar,
Yeah.
I mean physically.
Physically,
Go.
you can't read and learn about
You
Islam.
can.
It's impossible.
You can. No problem. But
If you
when
read what a scholar
you see-
said, it's
you
useless.
see how you
It's
interrupted
useless.
me?
This is what you're
You see
telling
how
me.
you
I want
interrupted
them to
me?
understand what you're
Did
saying.
you guys see the interruption?
This is
A witness. Can I get a witness?
I want
Can
them
I
to
finish
understand
what
what
I'm
you're
saying?
saying. Good.
When I finish what I'm saying, you can
Go
explain
ahead,
what I'm saying.
go ahead.
No, don't try to rush me, bro. This ain't your time. All right. Now, when I say go to a scholar, I don't mean Google. I don't mean look up stuff that you don't understand, you don't have the capacity to understand, you don't know the context to understand, that you're just looking up to make points. Rather, if you really want to be sincere and understand, as I did with the Bible, when I went to Bible studies and I went to Christian preachers and I sat in their lessons and I asked them questions, and then after that, when I found things that they could not show references for, that's a different issue. What you did is not to understand. You went Googled, found whatever you could for your Islam. Let me finish, bro. Now, when I say go to a scholar, I'm not saying me necessarily. I'm a student of knowledge. I'm not a scholar. I'm just a beginner. Go to an actual scholar and say, did Ibn Abbas authentically establish the tafsir of this ayah in this way? And a scholar will then explain to you that this book, for example, was not written by Ibn Abbas. It was compiled later and has weak narrations, and this reference was to a different ayah and it was put in the incorrect place by a later person. But you didn't want to know the truth. You just want to make your points. You just want to make your videos. When I say go to a scholar, I don't mean that you go look up Maududi's tafsir. That's not going to a scholar, because Maududi has said many things in his tafsir that the ulama of Islam have criticized, like his discussion about Musa alayhi salam and how he dealt with it, with his political aligning of Yusuf alayhi salam with Mussolini and so on. This is not the way you
Can't go
learn.
to books, can't go to tafsir, have to go to a person.
Again.
Do you realize how difficult it is to learn anything about Islam?
It is
I'm
not.
sitting in my
It is
room,
not.
how do I learn about Islam? By going to the Quran? No, can't learn there. Hadith, can't learn there. Tafsir, can't learn there. Have to go to you, because you're the only sheikh I can walk up to.
Again, this is
So
like
this
the
is the only
third time
place.
I'm saying
It's
this
the only
here,
place.
that not just me.
Yeah, but
I've said it
you're
three
the only
times.
sheikh I know.
Let me
Where
say
am I
it
supposed to
for-
walk around?
Sure, let me
I
ask you.
can't learn by books, so I just have to run to a scholar every time.
I got you.
Okay.
Listen. There is, for example, in America, go to Sheikh Karim Abu Zayd. Right? He's a scholar, he knows. Don't come to me, go to him.
Just walk up to him anytime I need to learn something about Islam, right? It's that easy.
Let me explain it even simpler for you. Let me take it even to a simpler level, okay? You want to learn about Tawheed, oneness of Allah. No problem, we got books, learn it. It's easy, right? You want to learn how to pray, I'll get you a book, no problem. Easy, right? But if you're going to talk about how to establish and take out the rulings on Islamic Khilafah, you're not talking about something that as a basic Muslim you need for your daily life. You are trying to get into some scholarly work. And for that, you need to go to the scholars of Islam and study with them, as we have been doing since the time of the Prophet ﷺ till our time. What we make, I went myself, I made hijrah, I left the US, I went, I sat with scholars, I studied Arabic, I studied Quran, I studied tafsir, I studied hadith, I studied the books of fiqh, right? And then now I teach those. Students come to me, and if they can't come to me, we have live links that they can watch the videos where we take them step by step, teaching them which ayah came where, what is the authentic narrations, and you could have done the same. You could have watched the same videos and learned, but you didn't.
How can I learn from videos?
Because
I have to talk to an actual person, right?
But you
I can't learn by reading.
Listen. You see now that I gave you a solution.
Who in the world says you can't learn by reading? What math professor would say you can't learn math by reading?
Okay,
What philosophy professor would say you can't learn Plato by reading the works of Plato? There's one thing in the world you can't learn about through reading, and that's this.
Let's show his hypocrisy right now, right? Let's say you want to be a doctor, and you take all the medical books home and you read them all up. Can you go and perform surgery? Can you, Dave?
You would need practice, You would need practice.
You practice
no
where?
medical professor, no professor in the world would say you can't learn everything you want to learn about embryology and everything else.
They would tell you
by studying.
if you want to be a doctor,
if you're actually performing surgery where lives are at stake,
yes,
then you need some hands-on experience.
And how do you get that? Can you do it at home? Can you, Dave?
This is what
I can't hear you, Dave.
Notice.
I can't hear you.
Notice.
Can you go
He's
home?
saying we can't learn Islam by reading.
Listen.
You
He's
can't
caught.
go.
I'm
not
Look at him.
This
Look
is
at
not
him.
surgery.
Look at him.
Do you think this is surgery?
This is more critical than surgery. This is your hereafter. When you're talking about running an Islamic khilafah, how to do
the Quran claims to be clear, and you keep telling us it's the least clear thing in the universe.
What you don't understand is what is clear is no doubt. The Quran tells you, "Qul huwallahu ahad."
Do you know why you need practice? No, you've been speaking for like 10 minutes. Do you know why you need practice? Do you know why you need practice for surgery? Because it's not that easy. Any doctor would say this is extremely difficult. I'm not talking about running a khilafah here.
So you're telling me an average Muslim become Muslim in America, he needs to know how jizya is implemented?
He needs to be able to figure it out if he wants.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now
and you can't
now
you can take all the books, and not figure it out.
Listen.
Let me give you an example that I was trying to give earlier so I can take this off my phone.
I'm going to let you speak.
Okay. So speaking about Maududi, last time, just as an example, I brought up the issue of apostasy. I did not think there would be any disagreement. This was to illustrate a point. This was if I go to a scholar. You say go to a scholar. The point was if I go to a scholar, then I can get different answers. And so the issue I brought up was apostasy. And I didn't remember where I read it. I didn't remember it was from Maududi. This is from a video I made like 10 years ago.
You've been at this for 10 years?
Yeah. Still, I'm on the same side with Maududi and you're throwing him under the bus. So I pointed out...
You're on the side of Maududi for everything he said?
I pointed out... No, of course not.
Only when it helps your agenda.
So, something like apostasy, where the four schools agree that a male apostate is killed. I said that they have disagreements on whether a waiting period is required to give him time for repentance. There's a difference on whether women also have to be executed in the same manner as men. So I pointed that out.
Under a khilafah.
You laughed in my face.
Under a khilafah.
That's totally wrong.
No.
I'm just talking about according to the schools.
Are you done speaking?
No. Because
I'm going to respectfully let you finish.
Because you laughed in my face, said I'm making all this up. Where am I getting this? I'm ignorant.
I asked you.
I got this from Maududi.
No, you're lying about me. So let me just clarify this. I asked you about the books of the different madhahib because you were saying about the differences. I said, can you name me one book in each madhab, and you could not name a single book.
Because I went to a scholar.
Right. You did not go. Like, once again, going and Googling Maududi's English translation is not going to a scholar.
This is not his commentary. He has a book.
Let me explain.
He has a book on the killing of apostates.
Just read it real quick. One second. Look, what's your name, brother? Abdurrahman. Brother, if you show me a rash, right? Now pay attention, right? You show me a rash, and I tell you, bro, you got to go to a doctor. Would you take that to mean you're going to Google what a doctor said?
I would never Google that.
Yeah, because where did you find this?
This is his book. This is his book. You can get it on Amazon.
Or you got it from the internet?
You can get it on Amazon.
Did you study his book?
Yes, it's a short book.
Did you
I read
study?
the entire book.
You studied it.
Look, now you can't just read it. What do you mean?
Okay.
You
Let
have
me-
to go to Pakistan,
let me- no,
and
no.
you have to learn Urdu,
Listen,
and
when
you have
he-
to do this. Look, he's dodging the issue.
Does he not know Maududi's
I made
dead?
some comment. I made some
Listen,
comments.
don't
No,
go to
go
Pakistan,
to Urdu.
Maududi's
Go
dead.
to Urdu. Learn Urdu so I can read the book in Urdu.
Who
You're going
wants
to say
to-
something like
who
that, right?
wants- Read Arabic. Arabic's the language of the Quran. Inna
I
anzalnahu
said some
Qur'anan
things.
Arabiyya.
I said some things
Listen.
that came directly from Maududi. He said it was all wrong.
Listen.
So Maududi is
No.
also under the bus.
No,
Ibn Abbas under the bus. Ibn
Ibn
Kathir
Abbas,
under the bus.
you quoted
The
a
two
weak-
Jalals under the bus.
you quoted
Allah
a
under the
weak
bus.
narration
Muhammad under the bus.
from-
I'm noticing a
not from
pattern
the
here.
work of
Anyone
Ibn
who
Abbas.
disagrees with this man goes under the bus. Doesn't matter
Go
how
ahead,
important
make
you
your
are.
content. Go ahead.
You know this is.
Go ahead, make your content.
You know this
Go
is.
ahead. Let me Google it.
Quoting
Let me-
Maududi. I'm
Google
the
it.
only one quoting
Let me
Maududi
get
here,
you-
and I'm
let me
Googling.
get you- Hold on, let me get you. When you talk about the four madahib,
Okay.
right? You know the four schools of thought?
Yeah.
The four madahib that you are quoting their differences. You
So there are differences.
Of course, there's
On
differences.
the issue of
Ikhtilaf.
apostasy.
Listen, on the issue of any fiqh issue that you bring into, the madahib are going to have opinions. In some issues, they're going to have ijma'.
Yep.
You know what that is?
Consensus.
Excellent. Then they're going to have ikhtilaf. You know what that is?
What's that? Disagreement?
Disagreement. Then they're going to ittifaq. You know what that is?
No.
I didn't think so. When you have a majority opinion amongst the four madahib, but there may be others that disagree. But when you study a madhab, you start with the matan. You understand what that is?
Just get your point.
No, that is the point. That you don't understand any of what you're saying,
No.
right?
You're
Now,
missing the
let me
point.
let me
If I
explain.
went to these guys
Let
and
me-
I said,
let
what
me-
am I supposed to do with this apostate? I
Sure.
get different answers.
Who
So
did-
going to
you-
a scholar does
you
not help.
did not go to a scholar.
No, I just read
You
what
just
they
pick
wrote
up.
because I can read.
Listen, you are reading a book of tafsir or a book of fiqh on jizya. Is it a book of fiqh on how to implement jizya and irtad?
This is one of your scholars. Not
Maududi
you
is not my
you
scholar.
I mean Islamic scholars.
Maududi, I don't follow Maududi. I don't
This
agree
is
with
Maududi, so I'm supposed to go to a scholar. I go
No.
to a scholar and he says, yeah, they actually have differences of opinion on what to do with
Sure, but the
apostates.
issue gets
Some
to
say you don't have to give a waiting period, you can just kill him. Some say if he's done it in secret versus he's done it in public, that's a different story. Some say that you execute a woman the same way as you would execute a man. Others say, well,
Who
Muhammad
says
said
what?
don't.
And what are their
It's right here.
evidence? Who says what and what are their
Maududi
evidence?
quotes them. Maududi gives the quotations.
Yeah, go ahead. Read
Okay,
from it.
so according to the school of Malik, as written in his book Muwatta, from Zayd ibn Aslam, blah, blah, Malik has
who?
Zayd ibn Aslam.
Zayd
Malik
ibn
has
Aslam.
reported that the apostle of God declared, whoever changes his religion to be executed. Malik said about this tradition, as far as we can understand, this command of the Prophet means that the person who leaves Islam to follow another way, but conceals his kufr and continues to manifest Islamic belief, as is the pattern of the Zindiqs and others like them, should be
What's the
executed.
Zindiq?
Maududi says atheist, but I know that there are other explanations of that.
Which are they?
I don't know, just I mean, there's not a lot. There's not a lot of actual atheists down there, so I assume it's someone denying the one God or something like that.
No, that's not what a Zindiq is.
Okay, that's
And see,
completely
this-
irrelevant to what we're talking about.
it
Notice
actually
every
is.
time he'll
No,
go down
let
a
me-
rabbit trail
It's not.
that's completely irrelevant to
Let me
the point.
explain why
To
it's
throw off
relevant.
the point.
Why it's relevant is because what you're reading, you don't even understand what he's talking about. The difference between a Zindiq
He says
and a Murtad.
atheist. He says atheist.
Do you know what a Zindiq and a Murtad, the difference is? You don't. See, this is the problem. When I say
Atheist
go to
versus
a
apostate,
scholar, when you ask a scholar, the scholar makes sure that you understand what you're reading. When you just if I go and pick up Grey's Anatomy, the difference between me and a doctor who can perform surgeries, the doctor goes to a university, sits with people who test his knowledge, make him understand. You can take every medical book in the world home or Google it and read it, and nobody will consider you a doctor. Why? Because your comprehension was not tested. You can go home and practice all you want. You can go home and find a dead body and cut it up. But you go to a hospital, even with that practice, imagine David Wood goes to a hospital and says, you know what, I'm going to start taking kidneys out because I read all these books online and I practiced at home. Nobody would allow it. Why? Because you have to be checked. Here, the difference between a murtad and a zindiq is critical. You don't even know what that means. Go ahead. Muwatta Imam Malik, is that a book of fiqh?
And others
Is
like
that a
them.
book of fiqh?
I'm giving you what your scholar said.
No,
your
you
scholar
don't,
says
it's
they
not
have
my
a-
scholar.
Let's
I
just
don't
read
follow
it.
Maududi.
Let's just read it. Yeah, but he's
No,
quoting
no,
all
no,
he's
no,
doing.
listen.
All he's doing is
Listen.
quoting the four schools here.
Listen.
Right?
Is Muwatta Imam Malik a book of Maliki fiqh?
No, he's giving the difference. My goodness, he's explaining the difference in thought of the four schools.
Do you know
So,
what it
and
means
others
to
like
go
him
to somebody?
should be executed after his guilt has been established. He should not be asked to repent because the repentance of such persons cannot be trusted, right? So there are certain people you don't ask to repent, you just kill them. He says, but the person who has left Islam and publicly chooses to follow another way should be requested to repent. If he repents, good, otherwise he should be executed. So he's saying there are certain people you can trust and certain people you can't trust. If he's someone you can trust and he repents, then let him repent.
Question
Other
now.
people you just execute them.
Hold on.
That's one school.
Okay, hold on. So let's take that from just what you read. From what you just read.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere else, right? If this brother, Allah protect him, becomes a Muslim and becomes a murtad, from what you just read, and he openly becomes a murtad, should I kill him?
He openly becomes?
Openly, right here in San Diego.
According, well, no, you'd say
Why not?
you're not under Islamic law here, right?
I didn't read any. Did it say Islamic law there?
You're not.
Wait.
Notice
No. Read what
all
you
of
just read.
this.
Read
The
what you just
entire
read.
conversation.
Read what you just read.
The entire
You see
conversation
this? You
was
see
about
this?
whether there are differences
Look,
among the four schools.
that is
He said
not
there
it.
aren't.
That is
he said
not
I'm
it.
making that up.
Let me explain.
And I'm getting it from Maududi. Maududi is quoting the sources.
You
And
see-
notice what he's doing. And
see
he's even got his
differences-
cheerleaders over here.
Yeah.
What do they say? They cheer him on even though he's not making any sense.
Listen, don't be a
My
hater
point
just because
was
they're happy and
there
they see
are
your
differences
destruction.
among the
No,
four schools.
no, understand
What does he
it.
say? There are no
Understand it.
differences. They
Understand
teach
it.
the
Yeah, I
same
got
thing.
you.
Now I give him the
Dave.
differences and he says,
Dave.
aha,
Dave.
but what about
What
implementing? We're not
what
talking
I
about that.
explained-
They have different explanations
what I-
of what you do
what I
if someone's
explained-
apostate. That's exactly what I
what
said
I
last time. He said
explained-
I was totally wrong. And now what?
He knows. That's why he's speaking to the camera instead of me.
I know what.
All right. He knows he's caught. He knows it's over. He knows it's done.
I was
He
right,
knows.
you were wrong. I was right, I was telling the truth, you were lying.
We'll prove it right now.
You were
We'll prove
prove
it right,
what?
right now.
I
Right.
said there are differences
Listen.
in the four schools. You
Listen.
said no, there aren't.
Listen.
I'm giving you the differences,
Listen.
and now you're saying, hey, let's
Listen.
change the subject
Listen.
and go down the. Why?
Listen.
To what? You're going to
Listen.
talk to me about medical
Listen.
school?
Listen. When we
First,
talked
are
about
there differences?
orthodox,
Are there
of course,
differences?
I told you
Okay.
from day one that in the implementation of rules, there is much khilaf between the madhahib. But there are certain rules that they
That was the
all
point.
agree upon.
I agree.
Hold on.
I agree.
Listen.
Maududi
Listen.
even says what you just said.
Listen.
Maududi says what you
Listen.
just said. He starts off by saying
Listen.
they all
This
agree.
is the problem. He doesn't want to listen
I'm
because he knows.
agreeing with you.
Let me speak and then
There's
you can
no
agree.
point
I
in
don't
us
even
arguing
speak
if we
yet.
agree.
I'm not arguing. I'm explaining a point to you. Okay? When you look at those rulings, there are some things that they're going to agree, but there are things where they're going to have disagreement. But you need to understand the context, and that's why when you read that, it did not mention anything about an Islamic Khilafah or a government. And what you did is you are now reading your own context into it.
I didn't say that.
I did. Right.
I didn't say anything about this context.
Because if you had just read that by itself, and that's all you had.
They're all talking about under a Khilafah.
Listen. Where does it say that? You see?
That's
You see?
not what we're talking
You see?
about.
No,
I never
but
made a
that's
claim.
the point. You don't understand what we're talking about. You are making your own context.
You're saying Cheetos are bad. You're saying Cheetos are bad. He's saying Cheetos are bad. Notice I brought up something he never said, and now I'm going to attack him based on something he never said. You know what
Which
a
is a
straw?
lie.
Do you know what a straw?
I like Cheetos.
Do you know what the
I
straw
don't
man?
know halal.
Do you know what the straw man fallacy is?
Listen.
Do you know what the straw man fallacy
Sure I
is?
do.
Okay, what is it?
When you make an argument to trap somebody into a certain answer and then you try to get them on.
No, it's where you misrepresent the opponent's position
Yeah.
and then you attack your misrepresentation.
Look.
The only point I was making,
What?
was
Okay.
if you say go to a scholar,
Sure.
it's not that clear because the scholars have differences of opinion.
Okay.
And I brought up the issue of apostasy to say the four schools have differences of how this would be implemented.
Sure.
You said, no. You laughed in my face, told me I didn't know what I was talking about. So I come back to you with Maududi, which is where I got it from. You're agreeing that they have differences, and you're saying,
You see
aha,
how-
but under
you see how I'm letting
it
you
doesn't
speak?
say under an Islamic
You see
state.
how I'm letting you speak though, right?
The point, if you now agree with that, then great, we're in agreement. You don't need to explain anything because we agree.
You don't want me to
There are
speak, that's
differences.
what it is,
Explain what? You're gonna.
You don't want me to speak.
You're
Finish what you're saying so I can speak.
Everything you're saying is a straw man. I thought we understood. Yes, we're talking
Finish.
about the four
You see that?
schools.
You
we're
see how he's
talking about-
nervous to let me speak? Go
You
ahead.
see how he's interrupting?
I'm
If
listening.
we're reading about the four schools and implementing these, I'm not saying you do this anywhere. We didn't make the claim. Never occurred to me to make the claim, but then you start attacking that point. That's a straw man. If you are in agreement now that on issues of how you treat apostates under different circumstances, the four schools have differences of opinion on how this is done, there's no disagreement between us right now. There's no argument between us. As long as you say yes, I say okay. And the point was, you say, oh, go to a scholar. I go to one scholar, he says, yes, you kill a woman just like you kill a male apostate. I go to another scholar, no, you don't kill the women, you beat them. You beat them every 3 days until they come back to Islam. Some of them say, yes, you have to give a person a waiting period if you're to repent, and if he does it, then you kill him. Others say you don't have to do that. Others say it depends on whether you trust the guy or not. If you agree that they have those differences of opinion, there's no difference among us. We can move on. You don't have to attack a straw man and say, David, but you said this or that. I didn't say any of that. That's my point. Now, do you see how I let this man speak? That's what you're going to say, right? Go ahead.
Actually, that's another lie, because all I was going to say, are you done?
Yeah.
You're done?
Yeah.
Now, would you allow me the courtesy that I gave you to speak? Thank you. First thing is, I told you from day one, maybe you don't listen, or you can watch the video again, that ulama have khilaf in their madahib, and their scholarly differences. The problem you're having is, instead of listening to what I said, which was to go to a scholar, you did the same thing. You looked up an online book, which is a book of tafsir, not a book of fiqh. You don't have the capacity to understand the difference of madahib, unfortunately, and that is not something that a layman should even be getting into. A layman should be understanding the usul, the principles, before they get into that, right? But you don't want to learn. You just want to take shots. That's the problem. If you had actually done what I had asked to do, to go to a scholar would not tell you Maududi said this, and Imam Malik said this, and Shafi'i said this. He would tell you that this is the opinion, this is the evidences, and if he gives you other opinions, he will give you the evidences why those are incorrect and why what is correct by looking at the strength and weaknesses of narrations, by looking at nasikh and mansukh. But you're not interested in learning. That's the problem. You did not go to a scholar. Once again, I'm saying this. You did not go to a scholar. You just looked up another tafsir book, not a fiqh book, and you tried to bring forward that which you don't even understand what is being said. I never said that ulama don't have khilaf. I never said that. I teach the khilaf, right? But the issue that I was making is that if you go to actual scholars, they will give you certain things which are ijma'an, where there is a consensus, where they will not disagree. And there are going to be certain things where they're going to have khilaf. But Maududi will not give you those references. He's giving you tafsir of an ayah. If you want to understand the laws of irtad, and what is the difference between a zindiq, and what is the difference between a murtad who is a male and a female, and a zimmi and a ghair zimmi, and a khilafa, non-khilafa, you don't go to tafsir books, you go to fiqh books. And then they give you all of the ayat and all of the ahadith, and then they give you the references on the different scholars and their agreement. When a scholar is your teacher, he will explain that. But you didn't go to a scholar. Like I asked the brother, if I say go to a doctor, I don't mean look up a medical book. I mean physically go to a doctor, so an expert who's been tested and accredited in the field can evaluate your issue and then give you a diagnosis. You can read all the medical books in the world online or at home. You cannot write a prescription. Just like you cannot give a fatwa. You cannot implement sharia. The Quran is simple, it's clear. For what you need as a layman, you say, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, Allah is one, easy. There is no kids, God doesn't have a son or a mother. He has nobody that is sharik with him. He created the samawat wal ard. Alhamdulillah, what you need is evident and clear. But now, if you want to take the Quran and use it as a legal system, you want to take the Quran and derive fiqh rulings from it. That's why we have scholars. That's why we have PhDs in Sharia. That is why we use those sciences to understand nasikh and mansukh and sahih and da'if and mutawatir. But you don't want to learn the rulings. You are here just to make content. That's the problem. If you want to learn about the rules of the murtad, I'll even make you a deal. Right? We have a book called Zad al-Mustaqni'.
I can't learn from a book.
We're teaching. Listen, you see how I interrupted now? Couldn't hold it.
I can't. You're telling me
couldn't hold it, could you?
if every other book I go to, if he
had
I can't learn from that.
for 5 more
I'm just saying you're
seconds, it
contradicting
wouldn't
yourself.
make him look like a fool. I was going to say
contradicting
it is a
yourself.
book I am teaching as a teacher
Okay.
called Zad al-Mustaqni', and I was going to offer you that you can study it with me. And as a teacher, I will teach it to you. I didn't say go to a book, so that little burst you did makes you look like a fool. What I was saying is not to take the book at home. If you took Zad al-Mustaqni' at home, you wouldn't understand anything of it.
Wouldn't understand. Can't understand by
Because
reading. Any other topic in the world you can understand by reading, but not that.
Any other topic in the world, yeah. Go ahead. So now, when you go to a university and you go to professors, That is there for a qualified professor to teach you. And when they test you and you pass those tests, that's when you get accredited as an engineer, as a doctor, as a scholar, as all of that. When you want to implement the Sharia, this is scholarly work. This is not layman work. Then yes, you need to go to accredited scholars. They need to test your abilities and give you the ijazat or asanid or masters or PhDs for you to then implement those rulings. As a layman Muslim, if you want to learn how to pray and things, no problem, I got you. Simple stuff, right? But if you want to then get into the khilaf of madahib, you need to at least understand what the madahib are. You don't even know that Muwatta Imam Malik is a hadith book. It is not a book used for Maliki fiqh. There are books written on it like Mudawwana and Al-Istizkar and Al-Tamheed, then derive the fiqh rulings from it. And even that is not the mu'tamid. This is not to know the Maliki madhab. If you want to know the Maliki madhab, then you go to books like Mukhtasar al-Khalil, which you've never heard of. That's the problem. You're just picking stuff here and there. Maududi has many mistakes in his tafsir that the ulama of Islam have pointed out. Does that mean just because you're going to read it there, now you're going to be like, oh, you're a scholar? Maududi is not my scholar.
Maududi's under the bus.
He's not under the... This is something that I said years ago. Don't think that I need you to be impressed by this, all right? But the problem is that you are not trying to find the truth. You're trying to find little
My
tips and
problem
bits.
is your method of finding the truth.
Okay.
I have to come.
So,
no.
Don't come to me. This is like the 6th time I'm saying. Don't come to me.
No, the point is,
go to Sheikh Kareem.
You're missing the point here.
Go to somebody else.
No.
Go to Muhammad.
You're totally, completely missing the point, right? Everything I've ever learned in my entire scholastic, no, that's what you do.
I Google.
Yeah.
I'm the one that brought you books. I got a library that I showed you.
I've got the library too.
How many books do you have?
When I'm sitting here,
How many books do you have?
A ton.
How many? About
An entire house full, basically.
You have a house full of books?
Yeah.
Nice. I want to see a picture.
Tons. Anyway, missing the point. But
How many fiqh books?
Dude, you.
Just out of curiosity, since you mentioned that. What fiqh books do you have?
None.
He has a ton, house full of books, not a single fiqh book.
What is it
It's
for?
not about how many books, it's how many books you've read.
Yeah, how many books have
Now
you read?
listen. So, here's what we're gathering here, right? You say, go to a scholar.
Physically.
Yeah, go to a scholar. How do I know I can trust that scholar?
Excellent.
How do I know he's not? And you would say, because he's giving the evidence, right?
You want
He's
the
giving the
answer or
evidence.
you, straw man?
No.
Straw man, right? No, you see the straw man?
I let him talk for like 10 minutes straight.
No, but this
I
is
let him
straw
talk for
man.
10
This is
minutes straight.
exactly
It's
the
not.
definition. You're saying
How many
you would
times
say,
has he said go to a scholar?
Now he's
many times?
putting
You
my
wouldn't let me finish.
position,
You
and now
wouldn't
he's
let me
going to
finish.
refute it without letting me speak.
You wouldn't let me finish.
Go ahead.
That's
Straw
the
man me.
point.
Go ahead.
That's the point. He says go to a scholar. Go to a scholar, learn from a scholar. If scholars have differences of opinion, and I go to a scholar and he gives me an opinion, one, how do I know he's not lying and misrepresenting things, right? In other words, if he says, no, that's a Shia site, how do I know that I should trust him versus not trust him? If he says, no, there are no differences on the implementation of these apostasy laws, if he says that, how do I know I should trust him? Versus, no, I don't know I can trust. The only way I know of to judge whether someone is telling the truth is to go look up what he's saying, look up the sources, look up the verses, look up the hadiths, look up the commentaries. The problem is, that's not how you learn Islam according to you. So I have to trust some scholar. I just have to come up to some scholar.
The second straw manning he just did?
I just have to come up to some scholar, mindlessly trust him, because I can't learn from the books. The books are just going to lead me astray. Because I'm going to go to the books and I'll go to like
Third
Maududi.
straw man.
I'll go to Maududi and he'll say, yes, there are all these differences of opinion and so on. Wait a minute, that's not what Shaykh Uthman told me. He told me I'm an idiot for saying that sort of thing. So what am I supposed to do here? I'm supposed to believe Shaykh Uthman, not Maududi. So these two scholars, but you can't believe Maududi because he's actually writing it in a book, and so you can't trust him. You could look up the quotations, you can't trust those because who knows?
You looked up the
And
quotation?
so I just have to.
You looked up one
no,
thing
I'm saying if I would, it would be completely irrelevant to you because I have to actually walk up to a person, which you said over and over again. So if you say, no, that's a straw man to say that I said you have to go up to a scholar.
I didn't say that. Right? But what you said Instead of letting me answer on how to know which scholar, you put words in my mouth and then refuted it. Exactly the definition where you said just look at the evidences, right? So let me explain how that works.
You didn't tell me that?
I
You
did,
tell me
but you
that
didn't
right
understand it. Let me explain it to you, right?
I do understand.
See, again, now you're not going to let me speak.
Because now you're going to talk about.
Now he's not going to let me
talk
speak.
for 10 minutes
you
on
see
something
that?
I didn't
You see
say.
how nervous he is from just letting me speak?
I'm against
just letting me
wasting
speak.
time where there's no
You're
disagreement.
wasting time, not me. I'm trying to explain something to you. If this is a waste of time, why'd you fly out from New York?
Not this.
Why'd you fly out from New York?
Not this.
Yeah, so you
this.
just want to speak and not listen. This is the problem.
No, I listen over and over again, but
No,
you keep
you
going down
asked
the
a
point.
question, let me explain it.
All of this was just, are there differences of opinion among the scholars that you could go to? You finally agreed. There's no more disagreement. There's no reason to discuss this.
Again, you're trying to jump off the topic because you don't want to let me speak. Right? I feel you. I understand that you're cornered. I understand.
There's
you're
no cornering
losing.
here. You agree with the point,
you.
and now you're going to go on
Now,
down this point that I'm not trying to make.
No, the question you asked and then answered on my behalf, let me answer it. Okay? When you go to a scholar, first thing, yes, you look at somebody who's accredited, who has qualifications, right? Somebody who knows that subject, right? For example, where did Maududi graduate from? Which Islamic university? What?
Don't know.
You don't know. You don't know which Islamic university Maududi graduated from.
So now it's doing research.
Hold on. Oh, yeah, Allah. You go to a doctor, he doesn't have an MBBS, NDS, nothing. You're going to let him do surgery on you? You're not. You're going to make sure. You're going to check Yelp rate. No. See, now you're letting me speak.
You're missing the point.
Let me speak.
If this guy went to Al-Azhar and this guy went to some other school, you're proving my point.
Let me explain it. Maududi never graduated from any Islamic university.
Because he's under the bus.
This
he graduated
is
from
facts.
under the bus.
Fact.
University.
But he didn't know, now he feels foolish. Maududi dropped out of a madrasa.
Muhammad never graduated from university, so I shouldn't listen to him.
Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He is the messenger of Allah the Quran was revealed to.
What university did Abu Bakr graduate from?
From the University of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
That's not a real university. It's not accredited.
You don't get it. Let me explain this, right? As, for example, if you look at Pluto or whatever, they never took courses in philosophy because they came up with theory.
Plato was Mickey Mouse's daughter.
Plato, you have Homer, you have all of those. I got you. Not the point. The point here being those are the ones that came up with it. The Quran was revealed to the Prophet ﷺ. He taught it to Abu Bakr and Umar Uthman. They are. The university system, the madrasa system, the ijazat system was developed later to be able to understand their statement. We don't ask which university they went to. Now, when you look at a madrasa system or an ijazah system, if you had known, which you didn't, Maududi dropped out of madrasa. And that is why many scholars, many scholars across the board, including my teachers, have criticized him for his lack of understanding and his political leanings, right? This is not something new. You can look up my earlier videos when I discussed tafsir and so on and the mistakes he made, right? Same thing with Shaykh Qutb. Shaykh Qutb was not a scholar. He didn't study Sharia. He was a journalist. He was an activist. But he wrote a book called Zilal al-Quran, in the shade of Quran. But many scholars criticize his mistakes in it. But this is the problem. You didn't even know where Maududi studied. You don't know. So first thing you do as a scholar is you look at their credentials, right? Like I have my credential, I have my ijazat, I have my asani, but not just me. Many scholars in the
Maududi.
No, me and Maududi, apples and oranges, right? So now, when you look at the great scholars of Islam and you look at their ijazat and asani, that's the first thing. Secondly, when they present to you an opinion with the evidences, for you to now check evidences knowing the fiqh from a scholar is a great thing. I encourage that. The problem you are doing is you're not going to original sources, you're not going to Muwatta Imam Malik, you're not going to books of hadith like Ibn Abi Shayba or them. You're going online, looking up an English translation, skipping the scholarly step and trying to check something that you don't even understand the words you're reading. Look, I'm saying this with advice to you because you make yourself foolish every time.
Horrible. Well, this is the worst advice. I've never heard this from anyone except you.
You don't want my advice? Don't come here. I didn't come up to you. I didn't go up to your stand.
You put out debate challenges to everyone.
Listen, I said it to Christian friends. I don't. But that's
you said Christians in general.
Anybody. Okay. You came here with the claim that you're not here to debate. You're here to ask questions of a sheikh. That's on video.
Debate. You said you didn't want to debate. If you want to debate, we can set up a debate. I'll be happy to debate you.
Listen.
Would you like to debate?
Sure, why not?
Okay, cool. We can pick an Islamic topic and a Christian topic. How about that?
Sure, we can. Now, the key here is you came out to this table saying you're my favorite sheikh. I'm here to ask. Thank you. I'm here to ask a sheikh a question. right? To learn. But you know in reality that was not your intent, right?
No.
Speak the truth.
No.
That wasn't.
Look, I always respect people who put themselves out there versus other people. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
Like,
you came here to learn.
Yes. But look,
when I
learning does
prove
not
to you-
mean I mindlessly agree with everything you say.
when
And if
I-
you think
Sure. No.
if you think
Look.
that learning means you can say anything, no matter how completely ridiculous it is, and then I'm just going to mindlessly accept it, that's not what I
Not
mean
at
by
all.
learning.
Not at all.
Not what I mean by
If
learning.
you don't trust what I'm saying as a scholar,
Yeah.
then you should not be learning from me. You should go to a scholar.
If you're deceiving
Hold on.
people, then you
Hold
need to be
on.
exposed.
So now you see the truth comes out. He's not here to learn. He's here to try to expose. See the reality? No. You caught yourself right here on tape.
No.
You are
Look.
on tape, bro.
Look,
You
the
did not
first
come here to
video-
learn.
You're-
Speak the
Oh my
truth,
goodness.
bro. Don't mask it.
I will right
now.
now.
Let me say one
because
thing.
you just
Let me say one
misrepresented what I said.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
came out here because you issued a challenge. Come and debate me. So we came out.
So you did not
and then
come
you
to
said-
learn.
Not at that point. No, it was a debate. You had a debate invitation,
Okay,
right?
and you and three guys or two
Then
other
you
guys.
say, no, I'm not a debater. I just give dawah.
Let me
So then I
clarify.
came out the next time because I do make videos, right? And I have made mistakes in my videos in the past.
You still do.
Yeah, I have. I'm a human being. I make mistakes, right? So it occurred to me, hey, if I'm about to make a video on some argument from this book, why not verify with Shaykh Uthman that I am understanding the argument correctly? Let him give the best version of the argument that he can. I'm interested in that. That's, in fact, as far as Christian-Muslim discussions and so on, my primary interest is the arguments. But sometimes I open one book and it gives one argument and another and it gives a different one. And so
I do Christian.
you are the one scholar I can just walk up to. So why would I not want to walk up to you
I'm not. There
with
are
the best
many
version?
scholars. You can walk up, you can go to them, you can travel to them, and you know, in countries around the world, you can approach them. That's not the issue. So let me just clarify. So first thing, as I have continuously said, and you guys keep trying to misquote it, but I'm going to clarify it again. I am not a debater, but I'm willing to debate. Okay. See? So it's not, you know, all your little video clip cuts are just you guys trying to make noise. But the reality is, what I've said from the day one, I'm a da'i. I'm here to give da'wah. But if somebody wants to debate, like all three of you came out, I debated you guys, no problem.
We weren't debating. You said you didn't want to debate. That was
I
a
don't
friendly discussion with me holding Anthony
Gotcha.
back because
Gotcha.
he would have just steamrolled you.
He would have, huh? Yeah. Why doesn't he come back then to steamroll?
Oh, he can.
What? Let him
But
come back.
he would if you're challenging people to debate, which you did in that video, then he would like a debate, and that would be like, hey,
Look,
10-minute
look,
opening
look,
statements,
look.
and then back and forth and so on.
Look, this is a street debate. This is where you come out and we handle this, right? So now you came out, they came out, people after you came out, others came out. Videos are out there. That's not an issue. But when you came back, you said, I'm here because you're my favorite sheikh to learn.
You are.
When I explained to you, for example, the weakness of the narration from Ibn Kathir, from the Pact of Umar, right? Instead of accepting that, you keep going around.
Because
Which
you lied
tells
about him
me-
too.
I did.
Yes.
Okay, how?
He said, right before he quotes that passage, Ibn Kathir says, this is why Umar issued these requirements upon the Christians. And so he says he did it. He didn't say, and then he quotes the passage, and you said, "Oh yes, Ibn Kathir just quotes these things, and who knows whether he's taking them seriously." He states it as fact.
Let me
He
explain.
states it as fact.
This is why you're not here to learn, and you're here to debate.
No.
Let me explain it. Let me explain it, okay? If I brought Ibn Kathir the next week, but you didn't show up, so I mean I can't just be carrying all my books with me all the time. But if you let me ahead of time, let me know that you're coming, I'll bring you Ibn Kathir. When you study Ibn Kathir, when he knows something is authentic, he will say thabata, it is proven from, or fi sahih in the authentic narration. When
You're talking about the narration. I'm not talking about that.
let me
I'm talking
finish.
right before the narration. He
Let me-
stated it as fact.
Let me finish.
Okay.
Ibn Kathir there says that this has been narrated by the scholars
after
of
that.
Hadith before he quotes the Pact of Umar. Okay? Now, let me give you some clear, if you're a truth seeker, you will get it now, okay? Get Tafsir Ibn Kathir. Are you paying attention now?
I have.
Dar Ibn Jawzi. Dar Ibn Jawzi. This is a print house. You know, there is a scholar of Hadith, Abu Saq al-Huwaini, who did the takhrij on it. You know what takhrij is?
No.
When they check the ahadith, right? I brought the book here.
I'm not talking about the hadith.
Hold on.
Okay.
When you quoted Umar's path, I told you without even looking it up that it's weak, right?
I'm not talking about.
When
This is another straw man.
You didn't bring up
I'm
the
not
path of
saying.
Umar?
If you actually go back and listen, I said this is disputed when I first mentioned it.
Oh, so you knew it was weak, but you still
I'm
quoted
still
the whole
not,
thing.
I'm still not talking about it.
Okay,
I'm
then.
talking about before he quotes that. Ibn Kathir states it as a fact that Umar did this, and then he quotes a passage. So before he quotes the passage, he just states as fact that
Where
this
is
is
that
what.
reference? Where did he quote Umar doing it?
There he's not quoting it. He states it as a fact.
Exactly. He does not say it's a fact. He says about Umar's deal, and then he says ruya. It has been narrated. If you had checked, and now he's been caught that he knew
No, I haven't.
there was a weak narration.
I said it while we
And
were
that's
here.
why he-
I'm not saying
and then
that's
he
not
read
what,
the whole
I'm
thing.
saying that's not what Ibn Kathir
Why
is
did you
saying.
read the whole pact then when you knew that was disputed?
You're still not getting it.
Yeah, I'm not because
Still
you're
not-
changing.
You're definitely
No,
not getting
Let
it.
me explain.
You
it.
were saying that all Ibn Kathir is saying, all he's saying is, yeah,
has been
the
reported.
jizya is humiliating if you refuse to pay. That's clearly and indisputably not what he's saying.
Okay.
Because after he says that you're humiliated and so on, which by the way is just his commentary on and feel themselves subdued in the Quran,
Right.
which the Quran doesn't. The Quran doesn't say and feel themselves subdued after they rebel
Remember
against
the
you.
whole
It doesn't say
ayah
that.
when we clarified that already?
No, you
Okay.
can't. That's not
Anyway,
what it says.
listen.
No. 'Cause this is the problem. This is the problem, right? So you've got Ibn Kathir, and he's explaining jizya. He's explaining jizya, right? And he says it's the unbelievers who are paying jizya are going to be miserable and disgraced and humiliated and so on, right? So
Let me
he gives
just-
that. He gives that.
Bring the ayah.
929. I can quote it for you.
Hey, no, bring it here.
So this is the clear Quran. Fight those who do not believe in God and the last day, nor comply with what God and His Messenger have forbidden, nor embrace the religion of truth from among those who are given the Scripture, until they pay the tax. Here's the thing: until they pay the tax, willingly submitting, fully humble.
Yes.
Yeah,
So now,
fully
hold
humble.
on. So when are they humble? When they are forced that they will be paying the jizya. Here, if you had just picked this up, right? You have 3, 5, 6. Let's read it, right? Taxation system have existed since ancient times. There are several references in the Old Testament, and he gives the Old Testament reference.
You're going with this
Well,
commentary over Ibn Kathir?
No, I'm not. I'm explaining something. Again, this is the thing, right? So this is Ezra 4:20, and in the New Testament, Jesus allows paying taxes to Caesar. Luke 20:25. Under Islamic rule, all individuals have financial obligation. Right?
No problem with any of that.
Muslims paid zakat, 2.5% of their savings, and non-Muslims, dhimmis, were required to pay jizya tax for protection from foreign enemies. The jizya
Protection
was,
from foreign enemies.
Sure, that is one of the benefits.
That's
of
one of them,
jizya.
okay.
Sure. The jizya was an average of 1 dinar, 4.25 gold annually. Women, children, and elderly, the clergy and the poor, those who were unable to work were exempt, were not even forced to pay jizya. Those who opted to join the Muslim army were also exempt. Poor dhimmis were supported financially by the state. Muslim rulers refused the jizya when they failed to offer protection to their non-Muslim subjects. Now, the point there being, the ayah, when it's talking about fully humbled, how is that understood? Ulama, they explain this. Here, it's clearly explained. Now, Ibn Kathir gives his opinion, and with it, he gives some references. One of them, if you had read, was about the Pact of Umar. But the Pact of Umar, as narrated by Ibn Kathir, is a weak. It's not disputed. It's a weak narration. There is a kadhib. There is a narrator in the chain that was a liar. Right? And that is why Ibn Kathir, in his style of writing, he said there was a pact of Umar, but what has been reported, and the pact that you read, Ibn Kathir says this is what has been reported. He doesn't say this is established. For you to say that Ibn Kathir says that that pact was a fact is not true. Right? But the problem here is, instead of trying to understand the ayah in reference to other ayat, or the wording even, you read out the pact of Umar knowing it's not authentic. And when I told you it's not authentic, you were like, you're throwing him under the bus.
You are.
Right?
Because he...
When I tell you a weak
still-
hadith is
no.
weak, you tell me I'm throwing him under the bus?
He states it as... Let's read it real quick, right?
And I'm gonna let you read it, but just one thing. Maybe
I know you have to go. I know you have
I
family.
just want to make a point before
Okay.
you record things and I'm not here and all that, right?
Okay.
Which is, this is not my job.
Okay.
I do this as a volunteer basis. This
Uh-huh.
may be your job. 5 o'clock is when my time ends. Every
fine.
time you've taken me over the time, and then even when I stopped recording, you kept recording and tried to act like I wasn't showing. I just want to be clear.
It's on my
that
channel. You make
I-
videos on your channel and respond
Bro,
to stuff.
we just have to be honest
And
and,
I do
not
it- I
say
do
that
it-
I was
I do it in your
hiding
presence.
any. No, in your title and all of that, you were like, what Uthman didn't show is because our camera died at that time and you were
I didn't know
here.
that.
We stopped recording. I told you I'm done.
I didn't know that. You
No.
could have just taken the clip
No.
from mine. You can have the clip from mine.
6 minutes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, very simple. Allah said, until they pay the jizya, if they do not choose to embrace Islam, with willing submission, in defeat and subservience, and feel themselves subdued, disgraced, humiliated, and belittled. Therefore, Muslims are not allowed to
So
honor...
those are not in the ayah.
What?
The ayah doesn't have those 3 words, right? This is now.
Yeah,
now you're,
this is
now
Ibn
you're-
Kathir's commentary.
Sure,
Right.
go ahead.
And so your position was, when Ibn Kathir says that, he's describing the people who refused to pay the jizya, and therefore they had to be
course.
forced
They
and
had to be-
humiliated by them.
Exactly,
Right?
and that's the thing. When they are
All I'm
forced,
saying is he's not saying it.
go ahead.
Okay. Disgraced, humiliated, and belittled.
So just
Therefore,
one second,
Muslims.
one
Let's just
second.
read it. Let's
So
just
this-
read
no,
it.
no, but you skipped over the part. This is after you fight, and those that didn't accept, and now you're forcing them to pay jizya, right?
It doesn't say that.
Read the
You
ayah.
fight them.
You fight them. This is
Who
not
do you
again.
fight? Who do you fight?
So let
Who
me
do you fight?
Let me
Who,
explain.
who does it say to fight?
I will explain it if you let me speak. Can I speak?
Fight
Can I
those who
speak?
do not
Can I-
believe in Allah.
Can I
not
speak?
fight
See, he doesn't
people
want me to
who
speak.
refuse
You
to
see
pay
that?
the jizya.
He doesn't want me to speak.
You said
Now,
I had 6 minutes. You won't even let me read what he said because you know it
sure.
exposes you.
I just want the ayah to be read correctly. This is all. This is it. Okay.
Want me
So
to read it?
I will.
quote that.
But when the thing is that when you have Ahlul Dhimma living in your land, are you fighting them? This is why he didn't want me to speak. Right?
No.
Thank you. So
Right.
the ayah is
Yeah.
for those that you fight.
Yeah, you're fighting them for their unbelief.
Now, pay attention. This is where your lie just got caught, right? When you have, for example, you have Ahlul Dhimma that live in your land, they were born as Ahlul Dhimma, they are residents, they live, you don't fight them. There is no humiliation there. There, they pay the jizya in lieu of what you pay as zakat as a Muslim. This ayah, the reason he was trying to skip the beginning is for
Skip it.
those that you fight. And when you fight them,
Fight
and
those
now,
who do not believe.
right? Again, once again, if you do not believe, but you're living in Muslim land, are you being fought?
No, you're already a dhimmi.
But now,
But
exactly.
it's the dhimmis who are humiliated.
Now, this is the dhimmis you fought. That's why the ayah begins with that. You want to skip the beginning of the ayah because you don't want to give context to your
Not what
listeners.
you're saying.
That, no, read the beginning of the ayah. Go ahead.
The beginning of the ayah.
Yeah.
Fight those who do not believe
So
in
now,
Allah.
these rulings are going to
Fight
be
those
for
who do not
those.
believe in Allah.
So this is going to be the Ahlul Dhimma.
Notice the requirement. Fighting people who do not believe in Allah until they pay the jizya with willing submission and feel
Now,
themselves subdued.
once again, now.
Can we read what Ibn Kathir said?
No. Let
I
me
know
just-
you don't want to read what he
the
said,
ayah.
'cause he's under the bus.
I will let you read it. Don't worry. But the context that you're taking away, that I want your viewers to be clear about, is if you are Ahlul Dhimma and you're not fighting, you're living in the land of the Muslims, this ayah's reference is not about you. The ahkam of Ahlul Dhimma are many, right? But this ayah is for those that fight. When you fight them and subdue them after a war, yes, they will be humbled with the jizya. Go ahead.
Allah said until they pay the jizya, if they do not choose to embrace Islam. So you pay the jizya
Sure.
if you don't embrace Islam. With willing
For those you
submission,
fought.
in defeat and subservience, and feel themselves subdued, disgraced, humiliated, and belittled.
Which is not in the ayah, but go ahead.
Therefore, Muslims are not allowed to honor the people of Dhimma, so those are your dhimmis, not allowed to honor the people of Dhimma or elevate them above Muslims, for they, who? The people of Dhimma, are miserable, disgraced, and humiliated. Muslim recorded from Abu Huraira that the Prophet said, do not initiate the salam, blah, blah, blah. We've gone through that before.
No, wait, don't skip over it. Don't skip
if you-
over it. You
it's-
see that? You want to skip, right? So now.
Do you want to go through? We've talked
I
about
do,
that before.
I do,
I'm
I
not
do,
disputing
I do.
your explanation. I'm
Okay,
not
good.
disputing
So
your
you agree?
explanation. Yeah. No, I don't agree, but
But you just said I don't dispute it, and
I
you don't
don't
agree.
I don't agree. No, I don't agree with it
Just keep
because
going, bro.
Ibn
Keep going.
Umar Gave the
Radiallahu
greeting
anhu.
of peace to someone, found out it was a Christian, and then said, "Give me my greeting back." So that was not someone who was
Did you
in
know the
rebellion.
hadith actually when about the Jews and all of that? You didn't get any of that?
This
When
is
they tried to
why.
change the wording?
Notice what he says.
Go ahead.
This is why. So this is Ibn Kathir's commentary. This is why the leader of the faithful, Umar bin al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, demanded his well-known conditions be met by the Christians. These conditions that ensured their continued humiliation, degradation, and disgrace. Right? That's before he quotes the hadith. The scholars of hadith narrated from Abdul Rahman. Then he gives it, right?
Now,
Before he gives
Hold
that.
on,
Notice,
hold on,
this
hold
is
on,
not,
hold
this
on.
is a statement of fact.
Sure, you read it,
This
right?
is why. Notice everyone, is Ibn Kathir here saying that this is a false story, that Umar never did this, or is he taking this as
he
fact?
did not say that.
This is why the leader of the faithful, Umar bin al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, demanded his well-known conditions be met by the Christians. These conditions that ensure their continued humiliation, degradation, and disgrace. Then he gives a hadith, right? And he says, "Oh, weak hadith." Ibn
what did he
Kathir
say?
is stating this as fact. Even if you want to say, "Hey, Ibn Kathir didn't know what he was talking about," get under the bus, Ibn Kathir. You don't know what you're talking about. Even if you want to say he's quoting a
Straw man
doubtful
again.
hadith, he states it as fact that Umar did this. He states it as fact. So if you're saying his position is actually, no, this only applies if Christians refuse to pay the jizya, the story he gives, even if you want to throw it out, is about Christians who were willingly paying jizya, and he states it as fact that Umar did this. So my only point here, I'm not even saying that this is correct.
Are you done?
I'm saying, no, just if
I'm,
you were
I'm letting
right.
you finish.
If you were right, which you're not, but if you were right about jizya, and you were to say, Ibn Kathir didn't know what he was talking about, he's wrong.
I never
have no,
said that.
No, I'm saying, if you were
Straw
saying,
man again.
no, I'm saying if you were saying that. Because
I'm not.
I don't believe Ibn Kathir is right about everything. And anytime you have human beings involved in something, they're going to make mistakes. So if you wanted to say he's wrong, you have the wrong opinion, I would be fine with that. The problem is you're saying that Ibn Kathir is saying what you're saying, and there's no way he's saying that. It's impossible for him to be saying what you're saying.
Can I speak now? Then I told you time is up, but I'm going to
And
respond.
now just take 1 minute at the end, because there's a problem here.
Now, the first thing is that the beginning of the ayah sends the context that these are Ahlul Dhimma that fought, right? You keep trying to skip over that because you don't want to give the context for your viewers, right? Ibn Kathir's tafsir is going to be in context to the ayah, right? That's why he's talking about that particular ayah. I keep telling you this, but you don't want to listen because you don't want to learn. If you want to know the rulings of Ahlul Dhimma or Jizya, then study a fiqh book that will bring all the different ayat, all the different hadith, and all the different circumstances. When Umar ibn Khattab, pay attention now, when Umar ibn Khattab went to Sham and he fought the Byzantines, was this people of Dhimma that were just there, or were this people that were fought by the Muslim armies with Khalid ibn Walid, the Battle of Mu'tah, what happened in Urdan? You can go and check till today. This is the context that you are skipping that Ibn Kathir is saying that no doubt, and I have no doubt, that Umar ibn Khattab and the Muslim armies fought the Romans and defeated them, and after that battle he set conditions on them. This is well known. But what were those conditions? We have many different narrations that mention different conditions. When we teach fiqh books, we bring those narrations, we look at the authenticity of them, and then we say these ones have been authentically reported, these ones are in weak hadith, and this would clarify your issues if you really wanted to know the truth. What Ibn Kathir says, Umar ibn Khattab, Amir al-Mu'mineen, radiallahu anhu, no doubt he won, he set condition on them, means that he fought, and they were humiliated but defeated, and he set those conditions. But then he says, and it has been reported, if you knew anything about Ibn Kathir or Tafsir or Hadith, you would have known that when it's an authentic narration that he takes as a fact, he would have said thabata or sahha, authentic. When he says it has been reported, that means he's pointing out to a weakness. So the wordings of those conditions is a weak hadith. I brought Ibn Kathir to show you. If you want, I'll bring it again. Look at the takhrij, look at the checking. All Ibn Kathir is saying is that the fact is that Umar radiyan did establish jizya on Ahlul Dhimma. And from the context and history, go look it up. Those were Dhimma that fought. If you are a Dhimmi who is not fighting in the Muslim lands, you have rights, you can even practice your own religion, you can use your own divorce laws and marital laws, you pay your jizya as the Muslims pay your zakat. But if you are going to fight the Muslims and there is a war and you are defeated, then no doubt that jizya will be a humiliation for the defeat. If we look at the conditions that were put on the Germans after their defeat in World War II, they were humiliating. They were meant to be humiliation. Or before, after World War I. And that's the thing. When you have a victory, no doubt, either those that become Muslim or join the Muslim army, no problem. No jizya on them. No humiliation on them. You want to come? If the Muslim state is going to be fought and they're going to be victorious, then no doubt those that lose will be humiliated. There is no doubt to that. Umar ibn Khattab's battles against the Romans, I have taught it. You can look at the series, you can get the references, look at Tabari and Sa'd and all of that. Those were wars. But Ahlul Dhimma that are born or raised or willingly come to the Muslim lands, this is not about them being fought. They will also have jizya. But their jizya is in lieu, as we read from here, and as the ulama of fiqh have explained, in lieu of the zakat that is paid by the Muslim. And you already said you had no problem with that. Thank you for your time. If you want to come back, you didn't do your homework. You had an assignment.
You want me to come back with information on Muhammad's slaves?
You had that homework to bring me. See, now he doesn't remember it. I'm glad you have it on tape.
I say this with everyone as my witness. If we said it, I forgot. Long conversation.
Then you're a weak narrator in hadith to begin with. We can't even accept hadith from you.
You can show me that that's what the homework was.
I'll get you the video.
Two things I'll keep this short. So again,
and I have my homework to present, which you didn't even ask because you don't want to know. You just want to make content. You asked me as homework.
We're going to get into another topic.
You don't want my homework?
No, I'm saying if you want to
continue, I'm done. I was just going to present my homework.
Let's wrap this up. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. If you want to talk later, I'll talk later, man.
Okay, look,
I'll hang out, man. I'll hang out.
I know you got nothing to do, but I got things to do.
Okay, so let me just wrap up this.
Let me just say the homework, and then you can wrap up, and then I'll wrap up.
No, hang on.
Your homework you asked me for was to find a Christian scholar that used biblical verses to justify violence.
Straw man.
He didn't.
Straw man.
All right. If we have it on tape,
you can find all kinds.
If we find it on tape,
all Christian
if we have it
scholars.
on video,
yes,
then you know who the liar is.
And then you can go. And I said, if you find a Christian who's quoting a command of Jesus or the New Testament, and he says this is calling for us to go around killing and slaughtering people, he's either crazy or he's got an agenda. That's what I said. Didn't say you couldn't find one. Right. Of course you can find one. Of course.
Reverend
you obviously had to have
Bray,
people. You obviously had to have people.
That have written entire books on this. He's throwing them under the bus now.
This is the summary of the entire...
Crazy. Anybody that doesn't agree with him on Christian law is now
he's the one who says he has to go. When I try to wrap up, when I try to wrap up, then we got to continue.
Wrap up.
So,
I did
in
my
fact,
homework.
we could have a debate. We could have a debate on that if you want to actually debate. But look at what we have over and over again. If you want to learn about Islam, Quran's just going to lead you astray.
Nope,
Hadith's just going to lead you astray.
Straw man
blah, blah,
again.
blah. And it does. Every time I quote them, you say I'm getting it wrong. So it's not good enough. You have to actually go to a scholar. Now, here's the thing. Here's the problem I pointed out with that, right? If I go to a scholar, how do I know he's trustworthy? He says, well, look at his credentials and so on. How do I know I can trust those credentials? How do I know this university is better than that? I have to have something I can compare it with. I have to be able to have sources and say, this person quotes things accurately, this person is being deceptive. So if I go up to a scholar and I say, look, here's what this website, this tafsir website says when they're giving the quotation. They're Shias. And then I go look it up, and they're not Shias. Or if I say, here's a quotation from Abu Dawud. You moron, that's not an Abu Dawud. And I know it's in Abu Dawud because I read it 50 times, right? Or if I bring up some differences of opinion among the scholars of Islam on apostasy laws, and he says, no, there are no differences. And then I'm getting this from another scholar, right? If over and over and over again, how do I know who to believe here, right? Especially if someone's constantly throwing scholars under the bus and saying things that are completely false. So how do I know I trust this guy versus someone else? And it looks like you would say, well, go trust someone else then. Point is, what if I go to that person and I start asking him questions and it doesn't seem like it lines up with what's in the sources?
Sure.
It seems to me, if you take a Christian or whatever, Christian,
Unless he
Buddhist,
disagrees, then he's crazy.
Christian, Buddhist, Muslim, whatever. If the person is saying something, it seems you go back to the text.
Of course.
To make sure it lines
Back
up.
to the text.
Back
Not
to
that
the
you
text.
go to the text without going to the scholar. See? You see now?
No.
You see that?
Look, you go to the
You
scholar.
didn't go to a
you go to the
scholar.
scholar.
You
He starts
went
throwing. He
online
starts
and
throwing.
Googled.
He starts throwing
Let me
other scholars
finish what
under the
you're
bus.
saying. Finish.
You know that.
Finish.
You know Maududi
Finish.
writes a book. Maududi says one thing, you say something else, Maududi goes under
Finish.
the bus. Ibn Kathir says one thing, you say something else, Ibn Kathir goes under the bus.
You didn't
You're
understand
telling me go to
Ibn
the
Kathir.
scholars,
I
I
tried to
can't go.
explain it right now.
Oh, I understand Ibn Kathir.
You do not.
You either understand him,
You don't even know
or
his
you're lying
name,
about
bro.
it.
You've
Look,
never studied Ibn
you either
Kathir.
don't
I
understand.
have.
You either don't understand him or you're lying about it. Those are the only two
What's
possibilities.
his actual name?
I did.
You don't know
irrelevant.
Ibn Kathir.
No one cares.
What's his style of
I
writing?
can read words off
What's
a
his-
page.
You are
I can
reading
read
the
words off
Google
a page. Notice.
website in English, not understanding the
That's the
style
Darul
of
Salam
writing.
edition. That's the Darul Salam
No,
edition.
when you
Go
say
to Darul Salam.
ru'ya, let me explain this now, okay?
He's
Are-
going
are
to
you
break it
done
down again.
speaking?
He's going to break it down
Are
again.
you done speaking?
He's going to tell me when Ibn Kathir
Finish.
quotes this
Finish
passage
something.
later, he states it as fact. This is why Umar bin al-Khattab established his well-known conditions.
No
He's
doubt.
saying it's well-known that he established this. On
Which he
whom?
fought.
The story he gives is from Christians who came up and said, we gladly submit as
Incorrect.
dhimmis.
Incorrect.
We gladly submit as
Historically, you're
dhimmis.
lying.
You want me to pull it up again?
No.
We can
hold
read
on,
the whole
hold on.
pack.
That's the thing that you're not getting.
I'm getting it.
No, you're not. Are you done speaking? Are you done with your little?
It's like you
wrap-up?
view every scholar
are
and
you-
every
are you-
source as Plato to shape.
Are you
to
done?
shape
Are
something
you
that
done
you
with
like.
your wrap up?
I don't know. If you're going to say
finish-
something wrong.
Finish your wrap up.
So this is the problem.
Okay. Gotcha.
There's a problem.
Finish your wrap
You read
up.
the
You're
Quran.
going in a circle.
You read the Quran, you read the Hadith, you go up to a scholar, you go up to a da'i, and he says a ton of stuff that does not line up with the passage at all. Just doesn't line up, right? It's like, I mean, you're familiar with this. I don't think you're in this camp, but it's like in the past, like 10 years ago, we go up and we say, what about Aisha? You know, 9 years old when Muhammad had sex with her. They go, no, she wasn't 9, she was 18. And we're looking at the passage, we're going, there's no way that this guy is right. But these are like da'is and apologists and scholars and so on, and they're saying, no, she was 18, right? We're sitting here going, okay, the text says one thing, he says something else. Who do I believe here? I'm going with the text. I'm going with the text, right? So if this keeps happening, every time I go up to a scholar, he starts saying, no, those are Shias. No, you can't trust that guy. No, you can't trust this guy. No, that's not in Sunni Abu Dawud. And I keep looking it up and wait a minute, this guy is saying things that are wrong. Either he doesn't know what he's talking about as much as he thinks, or he's being deceptive. Either way, I can't trust everything this guy says. I have to go back to the text. But as soon as I go back to the text, you say, no, my good man, you have to go to a scholar. It's this infinite regress. It's this infinite regress problem.
Are you done speaking with your wrap up?
I don't know.
No. What do you mean you don't know? If you're done with your wrap up, then I'm going to speak.
Just give your wrap up without saying anything false. I will not interrupt. And without straw manning me.
All your falseness, then I can't stop that. But this is what I'm going to say. Okay, I'm ending, so you can keep recording or talking if you want after this, but don't try to act like I stopped recording or something like this, right? I have explained this to you repeatedly, but I'm going to wrap this up again. That you didn't go to a scholar to begin with. You went to online resources, made assumptions that fit your agenda, and then came and then tried to debate around it. You didn't go to the Muwatta Imam Malik. You didn't go to the books of Maliki fiqh. You didn't look at the Khilaf. You tried to find anything that would find a reference that you could try to use, not understanding even the style of writing. I'm not saying take a scholar's opinion blindly. Always looks at when we give our adilla, our proofs, we give evidences, right? What I tried to explain to you, if you want to understand the issue of jizya, I have videos in durus. If you don't want to watch mine, no problem. There are other ulama and scholars and tullab ilm. I'm just a beginning student of knowledge. You can find somebody much more knowledgeable than me. And if you really want to sincerely know, you can go up to them, you can talk to them, you can find out. And when they give you, then their understanding from different sources, feel free to get those sources and check them. But you go to the scholar and understand the concept first, then you can check those sources, you can bring it back to them and try to understand what they're saying, how they're saying. When you find things that you are already trying to use, not knowing the authenticity, not knowing the style of writing, nobody's throwing Ibn Kathir under the bus. You don't understand the style of writing. I explained it. Ibn Kathir is talking about the context of an ayah. You have to look at the beginning of the ayah that this is about a battle. Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu anhu's well-known battles. And you can look at history, go to Tabari. If you don't have the references, I'll bring you the books and you can go home, scan them and read them yourself. That these were battles. This was at the end of battles. And when he put conditions, no doubt, and if you go to Ibn Abi Shayba or any of these books that record these, they give difference in narration. I taught the life of Umar ibn Khattab. I taught this subject. There's a video years before you even came out here, so don't think that I'm worried about you. And I gave the different conditions and the different narrations, and I gave those that are authentic, and I explained those that were in weak ahadith. Ibn Kathir is just pointing out the fact that this did happen, but what were the conditions? This narration itself, Ibn Kathir, if you understood how he writes, when he says it has been narrated, and the fact that you knew is disputed tells me that you knew that, but you were still trying to use it to make a point.
I said it at the beginning.
Exactly, but then you depended on. When I told you it's weak, you were like, oh, you're throwing Ibn Kathir under the bus.
Straw man. Straw man.
Did you not say Ibn Kathir?
I quoted it to show how Ibn Kathir was using it. He stated it as fact.
Says that he did not say this is a fact. The actual narration, he did not say it's a fact. He said this has been reported by the scholars of
Not the
Hadith.
narration. He stated before the narration.
No doubt, and I've said this.
He said it was well known. He said it was well known conditions. Umar's well known conditions.
But what?
And now you're lying about Ibn Kathir as far as this being after battle. He was fighting this offensively.
Listen,
this is the historical background of Surah 9, verse 29.
This is the ignorance of David Wood.
It's the background of Surah 9, verse 29. Muhammad said, no more.
Listen.
No more mushrikun come into the pilgrimage, and it says the Quraysh worried that this would hurt their trade.
Where's that?
It's from Ibn Kathir.
Show me that. Go
You
ahead.
already read it. You want to look it up?
Show me about the Quraysh and people not coming and not getting well.
It's in Ibn Kathir.
Where
if it's not in Ibn
Find
Kathir,
it.
I'm the biggest liar in the world.
Biggest liar in the world. Got it.
I'll tell you exactly what it says. Ibn Kathir says the historical background of that passage, Surah 9, verse 28, Surah 9, verse 29. And it's in Ibn Kathir's Battles of the Prophet. It's PDF. You can get it online. You can get this right now, or you can buy it.
Listen,
Ibn Kathir said,
PDF, I've taught that history. When you have the
but
battle
then
with the
you
Romans,
know it, and that's worse. It's actually worse if you're knowingly deceiving people.
With the Romans, how did they start?
According to Ibn Kathir, the Quraysh were worried that saying that the pagans can no longer take the pilgrimage to Mecca is going to hurt their profits from trade, and so they're worried.
You don't know about
Tabuk? Yeah, this is what led to Tabuk, according to Ibn Kathir. And so Ibn Kathir says that after that you shouldn't worry about losing money here because Allah can enrich you if He wills. Next verse, how's He going to do that? Fight those who do not believe in Allah. And it says, after Allah revealed, Surah 9, verse 29, after He revealed that, then Muhammad decided we're going to go fight the Romans to invite them to Islam and make them pay jizya if they don't.
Let me explain this again.
You're going to explain it in a way that completely contradicts Ibn Kathir. You're going to say, they were about to attack Arabia.
See,
the Romans.
He knows it.
I know this is what you guys say.
Look,
the Romans are about to march hundreds of miles into the middle of the desert, which they would never do.
The clear ahadith on this that are established. Musannaf ibn Abi Shayba.
What's it say?
That the Romans had an army
in Syria,
that they were preparing,
because they're fighting a war with the Persians.
That they were preparing to attack Medina. This is established. Musannaf ibn Abi Shayba. We'll get it for you.
Give it to me.
Okay, we'll get it. I'll bring it. I'll bring you the actual book. Right? Okay. And then the life of David would be shown.
No, it's not a lie. I'm quoting Ibn Kathir. Best case scenario, we have Ibn Kathir under the bus yet again. Ibn Kathir under the bus yet again. You know what's funny? One of the last videos I posted.
I'm done.
I know. I'm just chatting afterwards. You know what's funny? One of the last videos I posted afterwards, I was saying, all you really have to do is quote Muslim scholars to the da'is, and they'll literally destroy Islam from within by throwing their scholars under the bus.
Well, alhamdulillah.
So today we had Maududi.
Today we had two new shahadas, alhamdulillah.
Today we had Maududi under the bus.
Islam will grow.
Ibn Kathir, he's not, well, he is throwing Ibn Kathir under the bus, but he's more trying to reshape Ibn Kathir into something. But with all of these Sunni scholars who run that organization, he actually decided not to call them Shias. So that's actually progress. So all those scholars that were formerly Shias are no longer Shias. interesting stuff.